Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Poshteacher. And I am so excited to introduce our guest today. Miss Tanner is a high school educator and as well as an author. So we are just so excited to have her on the program. Welcome to our show, Miss Tanner.
Thank you for having me. It's my
Well,
pleasure.
we are happy to have you. And the first thing that we ask here at Poshteacher is, what was your aha moment when you decided to go into the world of education?
Well, I tell you this, I grew up around educators. I loved school my whole entire life. I loved my teachers. But we had aunties and that were principals, superintendents, teachers themselves. And so we grew up in just playing school with Barbie dolls and when our cousins would come over. So I have an identical twin sister who's also a high school English teacher.
Oh my God.
And so we was just bound that we were going to be working in the classroom somehow, but we would take our stuffed animals because it was just us two at the time. We would take our Barbie dolls and we would literally play school with them and like literally give them tests, even though we're the one doing it, and grade them and say, you're going to get a two, you're going to get, it was crazy. Graded them, had our role pay. It's something. And so we did that all the time. And so we just always loved school and just being around my aunties for everything, after school programs, things on Saturdays. We knew that, what I knew I was going to be a teacher. However, I didn't know what I wanted to teach and what grade level. So what happened was my 12th grade year in high school, I had a very inspirational teacher. Her name was Mrs. Mays, and she was my 12th grade English teacher.
Wow.
And I spoke to her about wanting to do this, trying to figure out what I was going to do as far as college and when I graduated. So the very, very last day I saw her, we were shaking her hands on the way out the door, our last day of school, and she took my hand and she said, "You're going to make a great English teacher." And so right then and there, I said, I'm going to do English. And so there I was. That was May 2000. And then August 2000, there I was in Michigan State studying English. And so that was the aha moment in the sense of what I was going to teach, but I always knew that I was going to be a teacher some way.
And actually, and also when you mentioned that teacher that was inspirational to you, does she, have you kept in contact? Does she know what you're doing?
Well, unfortunately, she passed away.
Oh.
She passed away maybe about 5 or 6 years ago. And I never had a chance. I hadn't seen her since that day. And I so wish, and I think about that all the time, the teacher journey and how you don't know who you impact. I just got in contact with my first grade teacher maybe 3 years ago.
Oh my God.
And my auntie, one of my aunties she's still my auntie, she had 50 years in the teaching in the system.
Whoa.
But she's retired now, but she's still out and about. And she got in contact with my first grade teacher and got her my first book. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome for my first grade teacher to have my book. I hadn't seen her in so long, but my auntie got in contact with her and said, hey, you'd be very proud of Darien. And she's somewhere in Illinois. She has my book. And so it's just an awesome thing. But I always think how important it is to reach out to teachers, and I started doing that, trying to figure out where they were, because I thought about Mrs. Mays. Unfortunately, like I said, she passed away.
Right.
And I didn't know. I had to find out. I get to talk. I got in contact with some old friends that were still in East St. Louis, and asked them about all the teachers, and several of my teachers passed away, unfortunately. Wow. But again, they have no idea.
Yeah.
That here I am sitting here, doing the same thing that they did, and so it's an awesome journey. Yeah,
it
but
is.
I never got a chance to say.
And you know what? That's the teacher thing, though. They say that we've probably planted so many seeds and we probably won't ever know.
Yeah.
But we just got to know in our hearts that this profession does make a difference, even if we don't hear it. We've made it.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, tell me a little bit about teaching high school. Some people are fearful of teaching high school. Why do you like being in secondary education? What's your passion?
Because I taught middle school 2 years before.
Oh,
so
okay.
I taught middle school 2 years in Michigan, and then I came here to Florida in 10 years at the same high school, 10th grade English. I think it's because I feel like I can really relate to high school students, in a sense. They are able to understand what it is that I'm teaching, or just what I'm trying to empower them with before they go out into the real world. you kind of get them at that stage. Now that's a tough stage. I often talk about the challenges with teaching high school. I compare it to like a race, a relay race. And if you understand anything about the anchor leg, that's the last leg that runs. And so whatever happens with the first, second, and third, they can drop the baton, they slow, whatever it is, all the balls that are dropped, the anchor leg kind of has to pick up on that, and so that's what I see a lot of times, in the high school, is that whatever they miss beforehand is such a tough challenge at high school to be able to help and go from there. However,
Yeah.
it's a very powerful stage because, like I said, it is you getting them right before they get out into what life really is about, and you have those moments to really sharpen, as an English teacher, to really sharpen critical thinking skills, reading skills, writing skills, trying to get them to create a voice. And again, it's just like talking to my younger self. I really like working with the young ones because I can talk to them, and I do talk to them just like I talk to adults. I'm able to be honest with them and tell them the truth about what's happening. And so I just always enjoy that age because they're still impressionable, even though they're bigger kids. And a lot of times elementary school teachers are like, I can't do high school because they're like, those bigger kids are a little bit scary. And I understand what they mean by that. But if they really knew, they're just like the younger ones. They're still kids at heart. They're still kids at heart. They just may
Yeah.
have a little bit more attitude and a little bit, stronger in certain ways. But it's just being able to sit and talk with them and discuss with them and then be able to understand really what's going on. So I just prefer to work with the older ones.
Let's go into your life as an author. I guess, would you call that your other life besides
Yeah.
teaching?
Yes. And so I looked, I was thinking about that, and I was like, I should have more things going on. And how some people are to gardening and all these other these type of hobbies. And some people have families and things that they're really into. Like I said, I don't have a family right now as far as like married with kids. And so it's kind of just me and I've been doing this teaching and writing my whole life. And so writing probably would have come before teaching because I've been writing since I've been in elementary school. And
Wow.
so writing is really my biggest passion. And so and I just decided to, for many, many years, I just was insecure. I went through some inferiority things, had inferiority complex with just thinking, is my writing good enough? If is my voice going to be good enough? And I'm not a collegiate writer. A lot of people that write educational books are, they have PhDs and
Yeah.
different things like that, different things that have forged by professionals, and they have these technical terms and the research and studies, and it had to come to grips that that's not my style of writing. I'm more of as an English teacher, I'm a storyteller.
Yeah.
And the best way I could tell the story about teaching is through experience. And so I put the storytelling together, and just with my experience over the years and what I've learned as a teacher, and kind of put a concept together, and wrote the books. But I've been writing for so long, but it took me some time to really become confident enough to write, because it's pretty scary because you kind of put yourself out there.
Right.
You put yourself out there to rate, they got the books on Goodread, and it's like, you're like, oh my gosh, am I gonna have a bad, all these thoughts that come in your mind. I had to get over that, especially with the second one, because the first one, it was out there and it got into quite a bit of hands, and just you heard different feedback. And you got nervous, like, oh my gosh, this is what they're gonna want. It's all kind of thoughts come through your mind because you're writing from who you are, and people can give you a one or give you a, and you still can't define yourself as a writer by that, but it is, you're writing a book, you want people to enjoy it. And so that's kind of been the journey. I just had to be confident in what I was writing, and I knew it was authentic because it was really what I experienced. And so I wasn't writing about something I didn't know about. And so that's also something that gave me the confidence, was that I know that this is it, I see it, and I know it, and I'm going to go ahead and put it out there and write it. And here I am with this is the second physical book.
This is the second one?
Yeah, that's the
Okay.
second book, but I have two ebooks. One I wrote years ago. It's like the first one, just like, oh my gosh, what's going on? But it was called Finally Some Answers. And it was 50 little small chapters, and they're all stories, but they were 50 questions I took from mentoring teachers, like questions that teachers would ask me, and I put them all in storytelling and just called them all different chapters. So that's that one. Is Finally Some Answers, and that's on there too. It's just like it's cheap, like $1.99, something like that. Yeah, because it's older. It's just, I'm like I said, you just go that route. And then I did one called School is a Verb this past summer. And that's also an ebook on there too. And it was the whole philosophy around, especially after COVID. This was I released it in August of last year. So this was after the whole
Oh,
COVID and the school is out for the summer and people are like, oh my God, schools are closed and there's no more learning. And then I had this concept, I was like, school is not school, it's more than the building. So I called it School is a Verb.
oh my
And
God.
so that's another ebook. So this is the fourth one, but this is the second hard copy. So I have
This
two
is,
ebooks and then the two hard copies. Teacher Authority in the Classroom was the very first one I did in 2019. And then this one here, the TV Broke My Paintbrush, was the one, which is the one you have.
yeah,
Is
and you finished this so fast. I mean, you talk about like you said, like COVID, like that just
Yeah.
happened. COVID just happened. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Yeah.
So that was quick.
Yeah. Yeah, when the writing comes, it kind of comes, it could be another 10 years before. That's the way sometimes writing goes with me, creative writing. Sometimes it's tough to find the creativity. Other things are going on in your life. And I can't write
Yeah, what's your
without
second?
being having
Right.
peace and being whole, like being able to focus and being excited about what I'm doing. And so this one took a while because, like I said, you have outside things going on that
Yes.
you have to get over when you write from within, when you write
Ah,
from that. And so so it takes a while. So it just came 2019, 2021. And so
yeah.
we'll see what's next, but I'm really just going to focus on these two right now. We're trying to get out there more and train and do PDs and things like that,
Good.
because this is pretty much what I want to say.
I
These
loved it.
two.
And when you saying about the environment, you mentioned that, did you say you kind of shut down from social media and
Mm-hmm.
all that and just got in your zone? And you
Mm-hmm.
said that just the writing, just, it was
Yeah.
amazing, right? How
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
talked
That's
about it.
exactly. I had to do the book because that's what I talk about in the book, with just how just technology and just other things are taken away from our ability to really create anything, whatever your gift is, and
Yes.
which is what I'm seeing with the students heavily. Oh my gosh. And so I said to myself, well, maybe it took me a while to write. Granted, we had school and it was so many busy days, and it was just hard for me to write on weekdays. I would come home and say, okay, I'm about to do this after school.
Oh,
Never happened. And
exhausting.
I had to write on the weekends. But I just said, this is spring break.
Oh,
Don't do any social media. And it was tough because I'm on there in social media connecting a lot with teachers.
oh yeah.
And I shut down for those 8 days, and I'm talking about the writing just came, my
Wow.
creativity, everything came. And it proved to me what I'm telling the kids, the students, what I'm saying in the book.
Yes.
Get that, stop the entertainment. You're now the centerpiece. What can you do with your hands, with your mouth, your voice? What can you do with your gift, whatever it may be? And that proved it. And so I said, all right, well, there's the book, and that's the message, I'm trying to
That's
teach.
where that came then.
Yeah.
The intro,
Mm-hmm.
because I was going to ask you, take us a little bit through the journey of the book. So,
Mm-hmm.
the title, tell us about the title.
Yeah. And so I thought about I I went back and forth between choosing pencil, because I still wanted it to be education, and then I didn't really want people to think it was a book about art in a sense. Even though it is, I just didn't want a teacher to say, "Oh, I'm not an art teacher. That's not, that's not for me." And so I didn't worry about that because I really wanted to convey the message about a paintbrush can be anything. So when you read the book, you'll understand that. Oh, the paintbrush, my legs because I was a dancer, my hands because I played, football, my my pen because I was writing, my hands because I can sew, whatever design, fashion design, whatever it may be, my mind because so I can think, a scientist, all of that. And so the paintbrush really represents anything that you can create. So I chose paintbrush because I was thinking about creating and originality. And then of course the TV representing the entertainment part of things. And so it just came to me, and I went back and forth a little bit, but it just came to me one day. The TV broke my paintbrush in the sense of talking about how entertainment, has gotten so far seeped into the culture for all of us. And I don't know if you could tell, it was kind of hard for me because I was going back. I kept, I was trying to stay with talking to students, but I always get into the adults because it was something for all of us. It just
It
wasn't
was.
for the kids. But I just knew this entertainment, the cell phones, and that was the biggest issue too. I'm also an instructional mentor at my school. This will be my fourth year, and so
Wow.
that was last year was my third year teaching. And so I'm responsible for 10 of the first year teachers on our campus. So
Wow.
mentoring them. So I only teach 3 classes. So I only teach half the day, and then the rest of the half I'm mentoring, work with those teachers.
Fabulous.
And so I'm very firm on cell phones and things like that in the classroom. So this is what really made me push. I say, I know there are so many things we got to work on the system as far as the solutions to it, but there is nothing that's going to happen with these cell phones in the classroom. I mean, I don't care if we change a curriculum, we can add text to it. It can be, you can do videos, you can try to be this fun, engaging teacher. If those cell phones are out, it's hard to be. And I'm talking, but even out the classroom, even for homework, when they come home, they go home, they're on them all day.
Yeah.
TikTok, it's crazy. And COVID really did push that a lot too, because everybody was shut in.
Right.
So now everybody, I mean, adults too, all of us, you know, just day after day of Netflix, you know, TikTok. And again, if you read the book, so you know I'm not bashing entertainment at all, because I mean I have Netflix, Hulu, and all of that.
We all do.
But
it's creating that balance. And like you said, it's taken over for them learning. And they're missing out. These kids are missing out on learning.
Yeah, and I take some flack for that sometimes. There's some teachers who disagree with me in a sense of, for the most part, you have some teachers, because I'm talking about balance. I'm not talking about saying we have to go back to the traditional pencil and paper.
Right, I agree with you.
Classroom, but you know, they're like, I know in elementary, middle school, and high school, entertainment, whether they're in the classroom or at home or wherever they are, those kids are on those cell phones or on those video games like never before. And as you saw how I opened the book up and how we were losing students in the arts, you know, we were losing band members and kids doing music and dance, and
it's touched every aspect of education. And you know what, like experience that teachers should be doing. What was that about?
So of course we all know, well, I can't assume because I didn't know. As I stated in the book, I was used to, you know, before experiencing the potluck, I was used to just someone throwing a party. Of course you would bring a gift for the most part, but you didn't do anything. You just came and sat down, and whatever games, everything was prepared for you. And then you just give your gift at the end and say, you know, goodbye. This is a great time. And I compare that to the classroom being just your typical experience of where the teacher's doing all of the work, you know, doing all of the thinking, bringing all of the, you know, teaching, and trying to do all these great things to engage the students. And then the students just can sit there or not, you know, and just went, oh, okay, thank you, great time here, Miss Tanner, for 49 minutes or whatever, and then you leave. And then the teachers left like, okay, well, you know, cleaning up, if you will, you know, the teacher did everything.
Right.
And so, as I said in the book, it wasn't until I got to college, a friend decided to throw a potluck, and I really didn't know what it was. And so, of course, once you understood, it was like, no, here's what we're going to do. Everybody's going to bring X, Y, and Z. So everybody have something to bring to the table. And so that means I have to get out of my comfort zone and go, because I'm not the huge social butterfly. So I love to be around people, but just let me sit down in the background. So the potluck experience kind of puts you out there a little bit, like, okay, if you have to make a dish or you got to bring something, whatever it is, you're coming in and you're going to contribute with the games and everything. So my friend, she had everybody involved, and it kind of got me out of my comfort zone, which was good, but it didn't feel so great, because I was like, oh man, you know, I just want to sit and just enjoy. Why? But that's what we did. And so then we had to bring something to the table. So that was the whole point of the potluck experience. Now, if you flip it to the classroom, now the students have to come in with something, quote unquote, with their mind. Like, you guys are going to do the thinking. You guys are going to contribute. This is just not me learning. So and this is why I'm huge on discussion. I do a lot of discussion in my classroom, because it's everybody bringing something to the table. Bring something. So that's the whole idea behind the potluck experience. So changing that dynamics to the potluck experience, and that means everybody's bringing something to the table. And so, and that's how the classroom should be. Someone must understand the potluck.
they're really good.
Yeah, they're really good.
They're being double of everything.
Yeah, they are. And so, but that's something to say about the system when it's lost with the high schools. And I'm talking about all types of schools. I'm not just talking about inner city, quote unquote. I'm talking about suburbs, private Christian schools.
Totally.
Everybody is you're seeing a dwindling, because entertainment has just put us all in our comfort zone, and now, we're not walking in our gifts, so we're not creating, we're not thinking.
Mm-mm.
And it's tough. It's not gonna be great, in the long run, if we don't get a hold of, because it's in us all, it's in every kid to learn. I see it all the time. And so and that's why I push it so much, because I'm like, guys, it's there.
I'm
It's yeah,
I
yeah.
was just, I mean, every page I kept reading from your book, I was like, oh my gosh, totally understand it.
Hmm.
And one of my favorite quotes here from what you wrote on your book was actually what you were just saying is you said the true intent of the school should have been for the students to find their purpose in life, but
Hmm.
instead it seems to want to make robots out of mankind.
Hmm.
And I think that's what's happening. You're right. All
Hmm.
that preschool, inquisitiveness
Yeah,
just starts to dwindle, and like with standardized tests and all these things, they're not letting students show what they
yeah,
have.
yeah,
And I just and then like you said, on top of it with entertainment, then it's just what is left for these
yeah,
young people.
yeah,
And so I totally felt so strongly about what you wrote. And you're right, it is an issue in education. And
yeah,
what do you think the solution is? What can we do to change that around? Because it is a huge problem. I see it. I teach high school as well, and I
yeah.
see it all the time. I see it with kids, especially with kids. I just did an interview with dyslexia, and
Uh-huh.
I mean, those kids are completely pushed aside in this type
Yeah,
of environment.
yeah.
What's your solution, or what is your mission with um
With that,
yeah.
as I say before, I believe that the education system, which I've been working in for 12 years, um, is built purposefully to not do what we're talking about. Unfortunately, I don't think that the intent now, especially,
Mhm.
again, like I said, I love school, and I know it's different. I'm just talking about the system in general.
Yes.
So the system, as I don't know if you're on, well, you're on Instagram, I see you on there, but I don't know if you're as widespread in the sense of you're looking all over, through the teacher gram, if you will,
Mhm.
to see, so many battles, people, talking about this not being passed, and oh, the system is this, and X, Y, and Z. And again, I agree with some of the things that are said personally. So I don't think the system as a whole can be fixed, because the intent of it was not for what we're saying, if you
Mm.
understand what I mean.
I do.
So
You're
what
right.
I would say, if I'm going to stay in working in the system, because I
Mhm.
have such a huge accessibility to the students, which people are like, man, if the school system is such a tough place and a
Yes.
terrible place, but then that's why you have good teachers in there with good intentions and good hearts, because we are able to affect students and get them on out, hey, go to adult, especially in high school.
You're right.
And so I don't know if the system itself, and I know I couldn't do it myself, but I would just say, as an individual teacher, I call the classroom your corner of the world.
Yes.
And then I just posted about 3 hours ago, the teacher is the pilot of the classroom.
Yes.
That the classroom is something that teachers can have the influence, the correct, I don't want to say correct influence, but can have the right, well, I can say right influence. I say
Mhm.
that
Good.
whatever it is that if you're coming from the right heart and you're understanding really what authentic education is, I think that that's going to be built by, just, if I'm going to stay in the classroom, if I'm going to work in the system,
Mhm.
then I'm going to do the right thing with the platform that I have. So my solution is, understanding what authentic education is, and really, as the quote you read about purpose, because that's the hugest thing.
Yeah. I agree with
Unfortunately,
you.
when I get off the phone, off this call with you, I have a funeral to attend
Oh,
from a former student,
oh God.
and I thought about, and I literally thought about,
Oof.
and I hadn't seen her in 8 years, and
Oh.
I literally thought about my purpose as an English teacher for moving forward. When I get these kids in the fall, even right now, I'm tutoring some high school girls in reading for All Girls Center, my sister and I. I look at those girls, and you treasure the time that you have with the kids, because so it's more than teaching Shakespeare, it's more than teaching
Yeah.
writing even. That's why I said purpose is such a huge
That's a good one.
component, and so
Yeah.
me understanding that as a teacher, I can't change the system, but if you walking into my classroom, the few hundred students that I'm going to get next year is thinking, having that mindset, really caring about these kids and about their life, and really what's life going to look like for them when they leave here.
Right.
because I do want them to pass and get it. The GPA is fine, but once they graduate,
Yeah.
it's like, what do I do with my life? And it's so different. College is not the same.
Well, Miss Tanner, tell me what your motivational quote is. What really you would want to share with the world? What is
Um, I have two. One is for
good,
teaching and one is personal.
good,
But
go for it.
the teaching one's been on my board. It stays on my board. I mean, I erase it at the end of the year, but it's up there. It stays on my board, and all the kids know it. And I think I don't know, it's controversial on who wrote the quote, but I actually flipped it around a little bit. Um, so it started. The original quote is, "When the teacher is ready, the student appears." And so I flipped it around and I said, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So I flipped it around because often, so the first time around, it went on the teacher, like, "Oh, teachers, come on, do X,
Yes.
here come the kids." No, no, no. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. And so across my board is, "When the student is ready, the teacher appears." And it's funny because the kids are like, "What does that really mean?" And towards the end of the year, they kind of understand it. Like, wait a minute. So Miss Tanner, because a lot of times my former students, when they come back to speak, and it's funny to me, and I'm like, okay, they're like, "Listen, I love Miss Tanner dearly, but the first couple of months I didn't like the class. She was tough and XYZ." And it was like, what is going on? And then when they started to get to know me as a teacher, understand really what I was doing and why I was pushing them, then they were like, "Oh." And then I saw the students come to life. I started to see them come to life.
Wow.
And it's even this year, even though this was a tough year and we went through so many switching
Yes.
students, class switching, and I had kids coming third. I'm like, what is going on? And they were like, "This is a different type of flow of teacher." Whereas, they didn't understand the culture of what I was doing. And so then the last 2 weeks of school, literally,
Yeah.
we had a mock trial court case, and the kids were really just opening up, and they were like, "Wow, Miss Tanner, wow, this is I never." And I'm like, "Yeah, I've been like this since August. This has always been me." This Miss Tanner that you guys are like, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to miss you, Miss Tanner." This Miss Tanner was the same one in August, but you guys didn't get a chance to see really what you're seeing now because you hadn't been students yet. You had been closed off. I had to get over the laziness, just pushing you guys out. So when y'all become students,
Yes.
then you see the teacher more so. So that's my favorite quote. And then my personal one is Eleanor Roosevelt. Um, when someone makes you feel, oh my gosh, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. No one can make
Oh,
you feel inferior without your consent. That's a
oh my
huge
goodness.
one for
Oh
me
my
because, like, man, because I told you I went through, just dealing with some insecurities and inferiority things. I have lots of Bible scriptures that are my favorites. So
love it.
I didn't have I am a Christian. And so
Yeah.
there's tons of the
Love it.
scriptures they're very inspirational to me. But that Eleanor Roosevelt is very, very has been groundbreaking to me because again, it's like if you feel an inferior, it's your fault because no one can
Yes.
make you feel inferior without your consent.
I want to be in your class.
I
Oh, side note.
appreciate that. I do. Thank you.
No, it's been a true honor speaking with you. And like I said, I just really enjoyed to get to know you just by reading your book. I literally could not put it down.
Mhm.
And it was just phenomenal to hear what your mission is all about and what you're doing in the world of education. Tell me about image, yes, and how you present yourself in the classroom because you
I
didn't mention that. Tell me.
in the beginning days, I wasn't too much into it because again, I dealt with self-esteem issues and just
Yeah.
different little insecure things. And so I was like, oh my gosh. And for years I did youth ministry before I did I still do youth ministry now, but before I became a teacher, I was working with the youth in church. And I would get upset, or intimidated by, the people that were over the youth leadership at that time. They were huge on looks and you got to do this. And I'm talking about like really like heels and because
Oh,
their whole thing was the teens are really into popular culture and the singers and they love the singers because they're so pretty and and so we need to be this way so we can show the girls. So and it wasn't bad, but I wasn't ready. I was just like, I don't know, full face makeup and because the girls like
Yeah.
So I dealt with that, and so at first it didn't image, I kind of turned away from it because I didn't like that kind of approach.
Right.
But then when I became a high school teacher, it's just
Yeah.
regular. But then I kind of had a little style going on a little bit. And then it started forming to my own style. I
Oh,
became a teacher with the glasses and the short hair. And then I started, I had a little style. I don't really know what to call it. I'm a cardigan person. So I cardigans and flats. And so all the kids will know Miss Tanner, she got cardigan and flats on
oh, I
with
love
on
it though. You
jeans.
have your thing.
Yeah, I do have my thing. And so I started the students would compliment the kids and the kids, the boys and the females and the male students. We know, oh, Miss Tanner, I like. And so I started to know who maybe image is, and not saying that I would go and look in any kind of way, but still I didn't
Yes.
think that it played an important role. And I did learn that it did. And I don't know if I would equate it per se to respect, if you will.
Mhm.
That the kids respect you if you dress a certain way.
Yeah.
But they were impressionable, and they were impressed with, and even though it wasn't their style, like
Yeah.
it wasn't like, oh, you trying to dress like the young one, because I didn't want, I was like, no, I'm not gonna wear it. I got Chuck Taylors, but that's just me.
Right.
I didn't want to, I wasn't trying to be dressing like Beyonce. That's just not
Right.
me. I had more of a Audrey Hepburn. That's one of my fashion people that I love, Audrey Hepburn.
Oh,
So I kind of had one of those classic styles, and the
yes.
kids really noticed it. And a couple of, I'm gonna dress like you when I get older, and
Oh my God, look at
yeah,
that
yeah,
impact.
yeah. So I understood, once I had to get out of my inferiority and me feeling like, oh my gosh, and I'm also African American teacher in
Yeah.
a school that's predominantly it's Hispanic and Black, but
Okay.
we dealt with some things about Black women, if you will.
Mhm.
Just the image that Black women having media.
Wow.
Um, I had to combat that, and show
Oh,
students that what you guys are seeing on TV
it's
is
not.
not, Black women on dressing,
I'm a Hispanic and
wild
I
and
see the same thing.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like
So yeah,
media
so
is
it's
so different from
yeah. And so it's been interesting. I had some interesting conversations with students, and then boys are like, I didn't know,
wow.
didn't know Black women. And I'm like, well, what's your interpretation? I didn't know Black women were like had class.
Yes.
And so because they're looking
Wow.
on TV and they seeing us fighting, all kind of stuff. And
Yes.
so it was good to be able to break those barriers, not just with, how I dress, but just the
But
presentation
it's
of
a
it all.
conversation. I mean, you
Yeah,
created conversation. I mean, it's just a starting point.
yeah,
Your
yeah.
clothes. I mean, it brought up all this other topic.
Yeah, it's interesting. And so I didn't do too much this year. At first, I would normally be, I'd be a little bit more stylish. But this school year was a little
Oh,
different. And I mean, I just dressed, I just have cardigan, jeans look like pants, flash, because normally I try to go, I'd have my little skirts and dresses, and not short, but just like design, just my style.
oh
I'll be
yeah,
more
classic,
stylish.
classic.
Yeah,
I
but
love
I
the
this
glasses and the short
yeah,
hair. It's
yeah.
adorable.
Thank you. So yeah, so that's mine. So I think it's important. And I was, like I
You're
said,
so
I was
right.
able to look at you through your page, and I saw some really nice things. And so I really do like the message that you are sending, about dressing and what that appearance does to what could do for you in the classroom, even if you're working with the little ones, because I guess they notice things too.
They
Like,
do.
oh, yeah, they do. And they notice, maybe they notice more actually, because they're like, oh, you changed your hair.
They do
Oh, you did.
everything. And they,
Yeah.
I interviewed Laverne. I don't know if you saw her, but she was on Facebook going to church every Sunday, and on Zoom she wore all her hats that she would wear to church.
Uh-huh.
And she's a
Oh,
former
wow.
teacher. And she talked about how just her clothes. It just taught also students how to present yourselves. You're talking about getting them ready for the world. That's a piece of that too. It's
Yeah.
like presenting yourself is important, in your future. And so she talked about how we are kind of role models for that, just how
Yeah.
we dress. And
Yeah.
but I love it that the students already pegged you as, the cardigan and
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love
That's it.
it.
Because they gonna remember, because we had our teachers, but they wasn't. Our teachers were funny. They did. We had one with the crooked. His glasses literally, the leg of his glasses broke, and he kept it. He had it off of. So literally, I kid you not, he taught
No.
Mr. Nate, 8th grade. So I'll never forget him, Mr. Nate. He taught 8th grade history, and he would literally teach. And so then one time he got it taped, and so it's so that's what I'm saying. So we paid attention, but they were funny. And so we had one, our science teacher who always had a lab coat on, Mr. Norwood. And so we remembered.
Well, Ms. Tanner, thank you so much for being on our program, and it was a true pleasure to have you. And I wish you much success, and we want everyone to get your book, all of your books, and especially this one. It's an excellent, excellent book, and congratulations.
And thank you for
so
having
much.
me.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.